Hey everyone, I'm Danielle, and I'm currently in my fourth year in the Bachelor of Commerce program at the Haskayne School of Business in the University of Calgary. The reason why I chose to study at the University of Calgary is because I was born and raised here. So in high school, when time came to choose a post-secondary program, it seemed like a pretty natural progression. I also really liked the idea of cost savings from staying home, and my family also really wanted me to go here. I chose the business program specifically because in high school I had been pretty involved with this extracurricular activity called the Junior Achievement Company Program, which gave high school students the opportunity to simulate starting up a company, and I found that to be pretty interesting. And the concepts that I was introduced to, as well as some of the professionals I met, resonated pretty well with me. I would definitely describe the culture here at Haskayne to be much more chill and relaxed as an undergraduate business program. That being said, there's also definitely an underlying culture of working hard to achieve good results. But overall, it's a pretty friendly community vibe, and I would say it's definitely less competitive than what you would find at other undergraduate business programs. The style of teaching and learning is relatively slow paced. And by that, I mean that the professor will give you the lecture, but it will be up to you how much studying you do, and consequentially, the grade or the mark that you'll get on your test or assignment. So, in a week, you'll typically have a couple class times for one course, in addition to labs, which are mainly just guest speakers coming in and talking about their experiences in industry, as well as tutorials where the teaching assistants will walk you through the practice questions. So in the first couple of years, the learning style is pretty traditional, but as you move up through your program, it transitions to being more case-based, which is where you get a business case that was written by a group of professionals, and then it's your job to analyze the case and come up with a solution to it. I would say that an important mindset to have in order to be successful at Haskayne is being willing to take the initiative and put yourself out there, even when it's scary. In your first couple of years, there are going to be a lot of opportunities that you'll get emails about, but it will be up to you to act on them and to take the initiative to put yourself out there, even if you might get rejected or if you might experience failure. I think that by putting yourself out there and trying hard in your first couple of years of your program, you can set yourself up for success in your later years. Now that I'm in my fourth year, I will have one more semester after completing this academic year. And after that, I'm hoping to graduate into a career in finance and capital markets. And if you had asked me 4 years ago what I was hoping to do, the answer would have actually been marketing or human resources. So, heading into university, I was very much so one of the individuals who perceived going to business school as being equivalent to getting a career in human resources or marketing or accounting. And throughout my degree, I have been pleasantly shocked by the amount of job opportunities that I've learned exist for business students with just a BComm degree. So, I come from a pretty traditional Asian family where growing up, I was told that it was the norm to go to post-secondary school, graduate school right after getting your bachelor's degree, so med school or law school. So I think that one of the coolest things that I found, and maybe I come from an uneducated perspective, is that like for the career that I'm hoping to get right after university, all I need is a BComm and perhaps a graduate degree later on. But for now, all I need is my BComm, which I have almost completed. That definitely really appeals to me. As for the types of careers available to BComm students, there is a vast array, and I don't think that I could possibly list them all in one video. But to give you an idea, in Haskayne, or at least when I was going into the program, there were 18 different concentrations to choose from. Everything from human resources to finance to operations management to entrepreneurship to business analytics, business technology. I think there's a concentration no matter what aspect of business you like, I think they have a concentration for it. That being said, personally, I switched concentrations about 4 or 5 times because I just wasn't sure, and that ended up being completely okay. So I think one of the main aspects that I really like about the Haskayne BComm program is that it gives you a lot of freedom to grow into the concentration and the career that you feel is right for you. You don't have to choose right away because it's super hard to know right after graduating out of high school what you want to do for the rest of your life. The co-op program, it's mostly up to you if you would like to do it or if you wouldn't like to do it. Personally, going into university, I had worked in a government part-time position as a swim instructor for my local municipality, so I really wanted to work in government because I thought it would be super cool at the time. So I applied to the co-op program because I knew that the city of Edmonton, which ended up being a place where I worked at, was hiring from the co-op program. There is a myth that if you aren't part of the co-op program, you won't be able to get an internship, but that is completely false for most cases. Also, another thing that I will mention is that getting into the co-op program does not equate to getting a job. I think that I believed this to some extent when I was applying for the program, but when I actually got to the program, I worked my butt off to apply for jobs and was definitely surprised that it wasn't more of a natural progression from getting into the co-op program to getting a co-op placement. That being said, though, if you would like to open all avenues possible for you to get work experience, then the co-op program is definitely worthwhile. It basically just broadens the array of opportunities available to you because some internships will require you to be in the co-op program, while others will not require you to be in the co-op program. So something that you could do in your early years of university could be to look at specific companies you want to work for, see if they require you to do the co-op program, and make a decision to apply for the program based off of that. It's also important to consider that doing the co-op program in most cases extends your degree by a semester or a year. So if you're somebody who is hoping to get through university in 4 years or less, then perhaps not going down the co-op route would be the choice for you. As for the recruitment process for internships, it varies depending on which concentration you're in and what type of job you're looking to get. So I highly recommend taking the initiative to do research. For example, if you want to work in consulting, then you should research into when the consulting recruitment cycle begins, and you should talk to people who have gone through the recruitment cycle to try to get some tips on how you can perform throughout the recruitment process. In my opinion, the professor who you take the course with, especially in business, has the ability to make or break your experience in that course. So when you're choosing easy or hard courses, I would much more so recommend you research the professor who's taking the course and maybe make your decision based off of that information. The difference in your learning when you have a professor who's enthusiastic about the material as opposed to a professor who clearly doesn't enjoy teaching is very noticeable, and it definitely has an impact on your learning experience. Also, I would advise to not be afraid of taking harder courses because oftentimes those courses are the ones where you'll actually learn the relevant material for your chosen career. So although taking a course, for example, named Options and Derivatives may seem intimidating if you haven't taken any finance courses yet, chances are that having the knowledge from that course will come in much more handy than, for example, taking geology of dinosaurs or something like that. I think that part of doing well in Haskayne is making friends and taking courses with those friends, because the business program is not meant to be an individualized program. It's meant to be a program where you work with other people in groups, be it chosen or delegated, and you learn how to develop interpersonal skills and communication skills through that. One piece of advice I have for students starting out in the business program is to get used to contributing in teamwork environments. Whether you like it or not, in business school, you're going to be placed in groups with other students, and nobody likes the kid who doesn't contribute to group projects. Similar to that, another piece of advice I'd have would be to go out of your way to make friends, which may be hard, especially if you're in a virtual environment. But if you reach out to people, you'll find that eventually you make some pretty good friends, and having friends in the program makes it a lot more enjoyable. And chances are they'll also have taken other courses that you haven't taken yet, or you've taken courses that they haven't taken yet, and you guys can help each other learn the material more effectively through collaborating. Another tip I would give, although most people would not want to hear this, is that reading the textbook can be very helpful, especially if you really want to do well in a course, because most of the business professors, I believe in their first, at least in the initial business courses, base their content off of the textbook. So if you go through the time and the effort it takes to do the practice questions in the textbook and to read every chapter, chances are that you'll be okay when it comes time for test day. The main thing I probably wish that I realized in first year, though, is that failure is normal and to not be too hard on myself when I fail. So in my first year, I did put myself out there and I failed quite a bit. I think I was rejected from most of the clubs and case competitions that I wanted to join. It was definitely pretty hard for me because I had never faced so many repeat failures in a row in the form of minor club rejections. And I definitely took it pretty hard, but I would say I learned a lot from those failures. So if I could go back in time, I would tell myself that, as cheesy as it sounds, they were actually a blessing in disguise. Also, you'll probably do really bad on a couple of assignments or tests in your first year just because you're not as used to the testing environment in university as compared to high school. And in those moments, it may feel easier to give up or ask for an easy way out, which could be in the form of asking your professor for a rewrite or an extension. But at the end of the day, I think what I learned from getting some pretty terrible grades in first year is that the best way to bounce back from it is to put your head down and put in the work to improve so it doesn't happen to you again. At Haskayne, the university experience beyond academics is very much so what you're willing to make of it. So there are people who will go through their entire degree without really having been involved in much, who will tell you that there wasn't much to be involved in. And then there are people who have been involved in everything who will tell you that there actually is. So it's all about what you make of it, as cliche as it sounds. When I was first in university, I didn't really have any friends in the program. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but having friends makes your university experience so much better. And in the business faculty, one of the nice things is that friends and extracurricular activities can be intertwined. So it's pretty easy to find friends if you put yourself out there and join clubs that interest you. And oftentimes, the friends you make when you first start out in university are the friends who will stick with you right till graduation day. This may sound nerdy, but in Haskayne, one of the top spots to hang out in or to study in, because there's a quiet area and a loud area, is the business library. So the business library is on the second floor, and it's where a lot of business students go to study and to work on group projects, and it has a very nice collaborative vibe. As for other places to hang out, I would also recommend the 6th floor of TFDL for a quiet study space, or the basement of Gallagher Library for a quiet study space, and I think the Taylor Institute would probably be my favorite spot to spend time with friends, just because it's so beautifully built. I know they're also building some new buildings at the university. I would also recommend the law library. The law library is a great place to study too. It will depend on what type of academic you are. So for me, the best way to study has traditionally been to just put my head down and study by myself in a quiet environment with no distractions. Hence why a lot of the places I've listed offer that type of environment. But if you're somebody who likes to study with some background noise, I would probably recommend the business library or one of the lower floors of any of the libraries available on campus. As for clubs to get involved in, I've found that when I was in high school and definitely when I was starting off in university, my mindset was definitely more so of join as many things as possible. However, now having gone through several years of university, I can say with confidence that you should choose quality over quantity. So for me, the most valuable commitments have been the ones where I joined or applied in my initial years of university and was able to grow and advance throughout the years in those extracurricular involvements. So I would recommend that you participate in case competitions for sure, which most people in the business program will tell you, but I would recommend that you participate in case competitions that take place over a number of months as opposed to just like a couple of days, although those can be beneficial too. But if you have the opportunity to be trained by business coaches on how to analyze cases through, for example, the intercollegiate business competition, I would definitely recommend it. It's a very valuable opportunity and it will help you learn how to think and approach business problems, as well as how to present and how to work with others towards solving a problem. The other major area of involvement I would recommend everybody dips their toes in is that of mentorship. So for me, mentorship has been a very important part of my degree. Just learning from another individual and hearing about their experience in the working world and their regrets and any advice they have has been super helpful. So you'll definitely have the opportunity to sign up for mentorship programs, and I definitely recommend that you seize that opportunity. In terms of resources that I've found to be very valuable throughout my years at university, definitely the Student Success Center. So in the first year when I had an English course and a math course, I was a frequenter of the Student Success Center just to make sure that I was studying and learning the material right. And then eventually I became a student success seminar facilitator. So if you attend those seminars, then the Student Success Center will give you some tips on how to study and manage your time. There are quite a few resources catered specifically to first year students to help them adapt. Additionally, you also have academic advising available to you for your program through the Haskayne Career Center, as well as career advising, where you can find advice on co-op and potential internships, as well as how they will affect your graduation date. There are also social support programs. So if you haven't heard of the University of Calgary Leadership and Student Engagement Office, this office offers a bunch of fun virtual events, as well as in-person events when things are in person for students to connect socially. If you happen to be a woman in business, there are a number of mentorship programs available to you. Because being female in the field of finance means that you'll probably be underrepresented, especially now and probably into the near future. Some mentorship programs I would recommend specific to you would be the Scotiabank Rising Leader Mentorship Program, which is for women entering their second or third year of university, hoping to pursue a career in finance. I'd also recommend the Women in Capital Markets Mentorship Program, similar idea. I would also recommend the BMO mentorship program through Haskayne. There are also a lot of financial resources available. So after high school, once you get into university, just be mindful of scholarship application deadlines, and there are quite a few scholarships available to students, especially business students. Even if they might not be the easiest to find when you're scrolling through the list of offered scholarships, they definitely exist. So my advice on that would be to take the time to fill out the slightly tedious continuing student scholarship application just to put your name in the pot, because you never know what could happen. If I were to go back in time and tell first year Danielle something, it would be to not pay attention so much as to what other people think of me or what other people think I am and what I am not capable of. Because really, the only way to figure out if you can or you can't do something is to try it out yourself. So along with that, I would advise myself to not be afraid to take risks, even if they're absolutely terrifying and the prospect of working towards something and then failing at it is terrifying. I would tell myself that the best outcomes come from the most unexpected opportunities when you just need to take the first step. Okay, I'm feeling pretty cheesy here, but I'm gonna keep going. Something else that I would tell my first year self is to persevere and to not give up, even though it'll get hard. I would tell myself that even though I will encounter failure many times over and over again, as long as I persevere through those failures and take what I learned from them on to my next experience, it'll be okay. To give a couple final pieces of advice, one would be to, yes, live in the moment when you're in university and enjoy your years, but not without consideration of the future. I found that planning, although things rarely go according to plan, has been very important. So you have the ability to set yourself up for success, however you define it, in the future, as long as you put in the work towards it today. So I guess just don't waste away your university years. Have fun, yes, but also work hard. That being said, I would also tell my first year self again that things like family, friends, and relationships are of equal importance to me as grades. So making time for what's important to you is something that will keep you sane during university, and it can be hard, especially when there's always a test and an assignment due, but I think it's very important.